Hello, this is Miss Recheck here to do a blended writing and true crime mini lesson with you. So we're going to be writing in English 2. We're also going to be reading. When we write, sometimes we'll write about ourselves, sometimes we'll write about what we're thinking, we might write an argument, we might just write about what we're reading. So there's many different types of writing that we're going to do in class. One type of writing you can see on my PowerPoint here is called blended writing. And most of the time when you are writing just a standard 5-paragraph essay or even just a simple paragraph, you want to give evidence to support what you're saying. So most of the time you are going to be using blended writing and you may not even be thinking about it. But here's what blended writing is. It can be a paragraph or an essay where you include your own thoughts, which is called narrative, where you include ideas or concepts from the text, which is like citing evidence, and we call that using a quote. And that is expository writing. And then we have our third type of writing, which is argumentative. And this is where you provide a thesis or examples to prove your point. And pretty much, even if you're just writing a paragraph, you are going to write in a TEE model. And TEE stands for topic, sentence, example, and explanation. Your topic sentence works as a mini thesis for that paragraph, and its job is to tell what that paragraph is going to be about. Your first E is your example, which comes from the text and is usually a quote. And your last part is your explanation, and this is where you're going to make that argument, prove your argument, give me all of the information I need to know, explaining how that quote proves whatever it is that you're thinking. So that explanation part kind of incorporates all three styles because it gives your opinion, which is your narrative. It can be proving your point, which is your argumentative, and then you're backing up that quote, which was your expository. So when we put all the pieces together, we call that blended writing. Again, here are the three different types. Expository is providing that information, which is usually your quote or evidence from the text. Argumentative is going to be a thesis or a point you're trying to prove through your writing. And your narrative is giving your thoughts, your opinions, and giving your voice in the whole piece to really analyze whatever it is that you're writing about. So the first unit, we are going to study true crime. And true crime has become very popular. It is nonfiction. And if you know what nonfiction is, that means it's real. So this is a genre that has been adapted to television shows, specials, even movies. I know Netflix and Hulu have special categories that you can just view a whole bunch of different true crime shows or movies. There are also podcasts, tons of newspaper articles, and stories, and so that's what we're going to be reading. But we focus sometimes on serial killers or how true crime can be about murder, and I want to, on this next slide, show you that there's a lot of different categories where you do not have to find something that may trigger bad thoughts, okay? Because sometimes I don't enjoy reading or watching a true crime because it might kind of feel scary. And so I want to prove to you that we can still have fun with this unit and learn nonfiction elements without getting overwhelmed or having to read something gruesome. Okay, so here on our next slide are a whole bunch of different types of true crime. So we might have heard of like heists or bank robberies or famous burglaries. Okay, something even as simple as like Jesse James comes up to my mind. Crimes involving celebrities. Okay, R. Kelly was a recent one. O.J. Simpson's a little bit of an older one. Okay, crimes that make someone a celebrity or has made someone infamous, meaning they become famous but for a bad reason. And so I can think of things like even the Boston Massacre, like the Boston Marathon Massacre, where people were involved in a bombing during a running, a 5K, or I think it was a 5K. A marathon running. Okay, we have miscarriage of justice cases or wrongful convictions. You have government that has been corrupt or cover-ups. You may have heard of things like Watergate with Nixon. Use of excess force or corruption in the justice system. We do have some things now that are crimes that have been committed with police brutality, so you can look up things like that. There are those serial criminals, which I think of like Ted Bundy or anyone who's been who has murdered someone. We have historical crimes, unsolved crimes, and even disappearances fit in that. And then crimes that have led to new laws. So this is a pretty big list of different kinds of crimes you can look up. Okay, so when we read, today we're going to read a play called Trifles. And when we read, we're going to be observing and we're going to be making inferencing. So observing or observations occur when we can see something happening. So we're reading and we're observing what our character's doing or what are they saying. And then our action, or in contrast, what we do is we make judgments, which is like an inference. And an inference is where we try to figure out, based on what information we've been giving, what we think about either that character or their action or the conflict. So today we're going to be making some inferences, which are just really more like educated guess. You'll need to find clues so that you can get to some answers. We will add those clues to things we already know or background knowledge or things we've read from the play. Then we'll be able to kind of move with all the information we're given to kind of come to a correct answer or a correct idea of what's going on in the play. And then we'll support our inferences, which is our guess, based on clues from our reading, which is textual evidence, which is really just using a quote from the text to prove what we're thinking. We're going to have a worksheet where we will have a red light, yellow light, and green light. A red light is where we stop after a part in the text and we think, how does this relate to something I already know? How does this make me look back to prior knowledge? Then we'll skip down to the yellow box and we'll look for some clues in the text. And this is where we're going to pull quotes about things that maybe just happened in the text. And green is where we're going to make that inference. We're going to develop an idea from the text and come up with what we think is going on in what we're reading. Here's an example. The thunder boomed, my dog hid under the bed and was shaking like a leaf. I know that the thunder is loud. That's my background knowledge. I know that noises can be scary, and the text says the dog is shaking and hiding under the bed. I can infer that the dog is scared. It seems very basic in an example like that, but as we read Trifles, the play, you will see how it can get a little more complex. So today we're going to read this play called Trifles by Susan Glaspell. On Canvas, I have incorporated a PDF file and an audio file. So if you open the PDF, you will be able to have the text right on your screen. And then on another window, you could open up the audio and just follow along as they're reading the play to you. In another video I will make, we'll be looking at dramatic irony, making inferences, and theme, all over this play Trifles. So what are we going to do right now? We are going to open the PDF of Trifles on Canvas, and we are going to listen to the audio or read independently. Today, we're going to be looking at just making inferences. I will post a second video talking about dramatic irony and theme to go along with Trifles. Happy reading!